Thank you so very much for joining us on the Clan Chattan Association YouTube channel with our very special guest, the 19th MacThomas of Finegand. He's 81 years old, former City of London banker. He still lives in London with his Dutch-born wife of 40 years, Annika. He inherited the chiefship in 1970 at the age of 27, following the death of his father, who was an army officer. His mother, who died in 1996, was a cousin of the late Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, wife of King George VI. He has been chief of ClanMacThomas for 54 years. You are also president of ClanMacThomas Society and vice president of the Clan Chattan Association. Finegand is a director of the SCSC Ltd, which is the Standing Council of Scottish Chiefs, where he represents Clan Chattan Association. Finegand and his wife have 2 grown children, Thom, his heir, and Amy. Thom is married to Katrina, who is half Scottish and half French. They live in the USA in Manhattan and also Miami. And Thom heads the British subsidiary in real estate. And Katrina is a director of Australia's largest global insurance company in the US. Amy is married to Charles, and they live in West London with their son Otto, who's 3 years old. Amy has her own company and is the agent to a number of actors and celebrities. Charles is an investment banker with Merrill Lynch. And we are so honored to have you on here today. We are very happy that you took the time out of your very busy schedule to be here with us. It's very important. And thank you for that.
Well, thank you.
And we very excited to talk with you more about the MacThomases and Clan MacThomas. What are the origins of the Clan MacThomas?
Right. To put that into perspective, I think the first signs of Clan Chattan are considered to be around 1290 in Loch Arbour, which is in the Western Highlands of Scotland, near what is today Fort William. So that was 1290. But the Clan MacThomas takes its name from Thomas, who was a Gaelic-speaking Highlander, known as Tommy Moore, and in English, that means Great Tommy. Great Tommy, or Tommy Moore, was one of several great-grandsons of the 8th chief of Clan Chattan. So that means that he was about 150 years after the first signs of Clan Chattan. Tommy Moore lived in the mid-1400s in the Badenoch region of the Highlands, just south of Inverness. But in midlife, he decided to leave Badenoch for 3 specific reasons. Badenoch was a very inhospitable place at that time. Clan Chattan by then had also, in his view, had become large and unmanageable. And rather more importantly, I think, Tommy Moore himself was not the direct heir to the Chattan chiefship. So to find better grazing for his cattle and provide greater prosperity and security for himself and his family, he took his family and followers along the foothills of the Grampian Mountains in a southeasterly direction for about 100 miles before they settled on lush grasslands near the River Shee, which is in the eastern Highlands of Scotland. And there they became known by various Celtic names. The McComie, McComb, McCombie, and McComas. And to explain that, the C in the Gaelic has exactly the same sound as TH in the English. So around 1470, the early chiefs lived at the top of Glen Shee, and there their families and followers flourished in their new surroundings, which today is on the border of the counties of Perthshire and Angus. But the Scottish government in Edinburgh always knew them as MacThomases, and that has been the official name of the clan from those original times through the centuries till today. And as you know, Clan Chattan was formed by several smaller clans joining forces with 2 larger clans, Macintosh and Macpherson, for defensive purposes. but the early MacThomas chiefs always remained actively part of the Clan Chattan Confederation, and that has continued right up until today.
What was life like living in Glen Shee at that time?
Well, I suspect you know the Highlands a little bit, and life was extremely harsh, and very harsh in Glen Shee, because Glen Shee is quite high, and especially in winter, life must have been very difficult. The glen was covered by forest, as all glens were in Scotland in the early days. Townsfolk sheltered in caves and behind boulders above the tree line, and they went down into the forest at night to hunt for game. So you can see that life was very tough. But over the next 200 years, the forests subsided and basic dwellings started to be built. And even after 200 years, the first signs of tilling the land started to appear. My ancestor, the fourth chief, and I'm the 19th, as you indicated, was murdered around 1590. And the chiefship passed to his brother, who lived at Finegand, which was about 3 miles south from the top of Glen Shee. And Finegand remains the official seat of the chief of the Clan MacThomas until today. Land in Glen Shee was held by few charter by the Earls of Atholl, and rent was collected by way of a percentage of livestock at each dwelling. Rather different than today. Around 1640, taxmen collecting rent in Glen Shee came across a poor widow who was living in dreadful poverty. She had a few hens, but one fine cockerel. Atholl's men were entitled to one hen, but they took the entire flock. The widow's pleas went unheeded, and she fled to Finegand. The seventh chief, McComie gathered a posse of clansmen, chased after the tax collectors, coming across them a mile south of Finegand. A skirmish took place beside a large boulder. The rent collectors had not accounted for the strength and might of the MacThomas chief. He was a great swordsman, and they fled, dropping a sack from where the cockerel escaped. The cockerel flew to the top of the boulder, from where it crowed in defiance, until the Atholl men had disappeared from view. And ever since that time, the boulder has been known as Clachnacurach, the stone of the cockerel. And today, every 3 years, the descendants of those original clansfolk who came and lived in Glen Shee, once lived in Glen Shee, come from all parts of the world to the Cockstane to remember together the deeds of the legendary MacOmie, a Highland hero to this day and the greatest of the ancient MacThomas chiefs.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's a good story, isn't it?
It's a great story, and I would love to attend one of those events if possible.
You can come anytime.
And I will put some more information for other people if they are interested as well. I had no idea, and I would really love to come.
Next one is in 2 years' time.
Perfect. Did the MacThomases continue to flourish in Glen Shee?
They did. During his lifetime, MacOmie prospered hugely as a cattle dealer, but he needed more land and better land if he was going to expand even further. In 1651, after some 200 years in Glen Shee, MacOmie, at the height of his prosperity, acquired from Lord Airlie the lands and barony of Forta, and he moved a few miles, about 5 miles, to Glen Isla, which was the next door glen. But MacOmie, a fair and decent man, a great man actually, was won over by the non-royalist cause at the time. And when the monarchy was restored in the United Kingdom, and in Scotland in 1660, he was in trouble with Parliament, who fined him heavily. The Royalist clans made matters worse for McComie More by claiming his land. Feuding took place, and during one such feud, 2 of McComie More's sons were tragically killed. This followed a crippling lawsuit that actually ruined the MacThomases, ruined my family. McComie More was a gallant and courageous chief, but he died in 1674, and sadly, 7 years after his death, his remaining sons were forced to sell their lands and flee that part of Scotland. Some clansfolk went south to Tayside. There they anglicised their names to Thoms, Thom, and Thomson. Some went north back to Inverness, where they called themselves McComish and McComie. Others went east into Aberdeenshire, becoming Combie or McCombe. And one of those McCombes later became the first breeder of the famous Aberdeen Angus cattle. The Chiefly family, my family, became successful farmers in Fife. They then moved back north across the Tay to Dundee when they became prosperous merchants during the Industrial Revolution in Scotland in the 19th century. Was Provost of Dundee around 1850, which meant that he politically was the person in charge of that area. His son became sheriff, means judge, sheriff of Caithness, Orkney and Shetland. But in 1901, to the shock of my family, he unexpectedly left the family fortune and all our clan lands to St. Magnus's Cathedral in Orkney. My father, the 18th chief, married, as I think you said in your introduction, a cousin of Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, the wife of King George VI. And it was my father who founded the ClanMacThomas Society in 1954, but he died only 60 in 1970.
Oh, I'm very sorry to hear that. That can't ever be easy. Because when you do become clan chief, it's also perhaps one of the worst days of one's life as well. And that's true for every clan chief, I would imagine, for the most part. What does being chief mean to you?
Yeah, well, I was very young at the time, so it did come as a bit of a shock, I have to say. But there are only about 150 recognised Scottish chiefs, as you know, and it is an enormous honour and privilege to one of those. As chief, I am president also of the ClanMacThomas Society, and the society meets quarterly. And perhaps I can just read out the set aims of that society. To promote the clan's heritage in its historic lands around Glenshee, to maintain and develop ancient sites of historical interest, to establish a number of active branches around the world, to encourage gatherings and other activities that promote the clan, and finally, to develop international kinship within the society. Since succeeding to the chiefship in 1970, the clan's historic links with Glenshee, and remember we moved away from there to Glen Isla, have been successfully re-established, I'm pleased to say. In 1972, I arranged for the cockstane, this boulder where the cockerel flew to the top of, to be given to the ClanMacThomas Society in perpetuity. 12 years later, in 1984, I led a successful lobbying campaign for the new bridge over the River Shee that was going to be built at the top of the glen to be called the MacThomas Bridge after the clan. And in 1990, I took the opportunity to purchase all the land around the cockstane for the Clan Society. And in 2005, 20 years ago, I oversaw the complete redesign of the Cockstane site, this involving planting new trees, new shrubs, the creation of a car park, much needed, the relocation of the new entrance through the McCombie gate, and the installation of new signage advertising the Cockstane. So you can't go up Glenshee today or come south down Glenshee today without being aware of the Cockstane. And actually, whenever I'm there, it is extraordinary how a number of people drive into the car park and want to have a look, which is lovely. But also, to make my clan better known, I have been the first chief able to be travel abroad, and I've been the guest of honor at numerous Scottish games in the United States. I think probably about a dozen now. And I've also promoted my clan at Scottish events, both in Canada and in Australia. But over the last 50 years, branches of the Clan Society have been established in the United States, Canada, Australia, and continental Europe. And every 3 years, as I indicated, there is a clan gathering in Glenshee. Delighted if you were to come one day. I preside over that event. And last year, when we had our clan gathering, it attracted some 200 clansfolk from around the world. The gathering includes a chief's reception, Highland Games, a gathering at the Cockstane, needless to say, a society dinner, a ceilidh, and a tour of clan lands. And over the years, it's always been a great success, but it's every 3 years.
I very much look forward to attending this event myself. And again, we will keep up with everyone to let everyone here know of that event. And if you've never had the opportunity to go to Scotland and attend a ceilidh or a gathering there, this would be a phenomenal opportunity, and I hope you will join us, everyone. How do you see the future of Clan MacThomas?
Well, some would say that clans are something of the past. But today, believe it or not, more and more people are keen to trace their family history and find out from where they come from, where they originate from. And that actual fact has led to an increasing interest in Scottish clans in recent years. I'm 81 and I'm chief for life. But before the chief passes to my son, the younger of Finegand, I want to ensure that actually it is simple for those people with the clan surnames to discover that they're linked to the Clan MacThomas. And if they are, then that it's able to easily join the Clan MacThomas Society. If they do join, they can then obtain assistance from us in tracing their ancestors and answering their questions. Our clan names include Combie, McComb, M-C-C-O-L-M, McComb again, M-C-C-O-M-B, McComas, McCombie, McComie, McComish, McComie, McComish, Thom, Thoms, Thomas, and Thomsons from Eastern Scotland. Some Thomsons come from Western Scotland and from the borders, and they're involved with other clans. But Thomsons from Eastern Scotland are MacThomases. Once members join the Clan Society, they receive both a digital and paper copy of an annual magazine, which is called, not surprisingly, Clacnacoilach, the Cockstane. There is also a large, authentic selection of Clan MacThomas merchandise available for sale on the Society's website. And this includes a history, an up-to-date history on the Clan MacThomas, which was published in 2009. On the website, there's much information about the clan and its society. There's more information about the MacThomas tartans, the society branches around the world, and all the news and clan activities that occur. The website does provide the easiest way of joining the Clan MacThomas, and new members are most welcome. We hope you would join us. The website address is www.clanmacthomas.com. clan.org. But finally, what I would say is, and remind everybody, that ClanMacThomas remains part of Clan Chattan today, although we do our own few events on our own every 3 years in Scotland and around the world.
Well, and we are very excited to follow you, follow what you're doing. You have quite a team of wonderful people assisting you, as we know, Virginia here in the States. And she has done an amazing job with the social media as well. And so I'm going to go ahead and not only post the website here, but the links to your social media so we can all follow along with everything that's going on for Clan MacThomas around the world. We're so appreciative to have you here with us today. Finegand, thank you so very much for taking the time to be here with us. And we are going to be, as everyone knows, highlighting for the entire month of June, Clan MacThomas. Everyone, let's join and let's plan on attending in Scotland the gathering and McKaylee and all the festivities 2 years from now.